listening to the Talkative Toastmaster podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Surplus. In this podcast, we explore how Toastmasters can help you to polish your public speaking skills, communicate with confidence, and amplify your authenticity. You'll hear from my fellow Toastmasters and I how this global organisation has impacted our lives for the better and how it could impact yours. Now, let's get talkative. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 39 of the Talkative Toastmaster podcast. This week, my guest is Evelyn, who is a member of both the Blue Mountains and Stage Time Toastmasters clubs. Evelyn recently reached out to me via Instagram, having found my podcast, and it turns out that she also speaks about Toastmasters on the Toastmasters Experience podcast, which she launched in June. Evelyn is an accomplished Toastmaster, having been a member for 16 years. She's completed a couple of pathways and is currently working through 3 more. So Evelyn obviously loves speaking, and I can't wait to hear about this. Now, Evelyn has been awarded 5 Triple Crowns in her time at Toastmasters and 1 Diamond Award. And so, Evelyn, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mel. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, thank you for coming on. And I can't wait to hear about all the different things you've done in Toastmasters. But could you perhaps start telling us, why did you get involved in Toastmasters?
Well, I ended up joining Toastmasters. Ironically, I was actually going through a divorce, and I wanted to find a new job to go into. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to be a celebrant. Because I was getting older, and I thought, what job can I go into where the older you are, the more people want to hire you? So I thought, you know what? I'm going to be a wedding celebrant. So I ended up doing the course. And when I did the course, the training school is having a sale. Like if you do the funeral course, you get 25% off. And I thought, oh, that's a good deal, isn't it? So I ended up doing the wedding and the funeral course. And I got 25% off. So I ended up doing the 2 courses, and I haven't looked back. So I've been a celebrant for 16 years. I've just recently stopped doing weddings. I just only do funerals at the moment.
Wow. And in terms of speaking, because that is speaking under massive pressure on highly emotional days, how has that experience been for you?
Well, I was fired after my 12th funeral. I was actually fired for crying because I cried too much. So,
occupational hazard.
I know, occupational hazard. And just the funeral director said, we thought your crying was a good thing, but it's just gotten, you just need to, work on yourself. So So I did. I still continued doing the weddings. And then with the funerals, I was upset that I was fired because I actually enjoyed the job. I enjoyed being a funeral celebrant, but I did realize it was every time I did a funeral, it was unresolved grief was coming up at every funeral that I was doing. And that's why I was crying so much. So after about a year of counseling and someone saying to me, it's not your grief, it's their grief. You're there to be the voice for the family. It just kind of kicked in, and I thought, that's right. It's not my grief. Why am I crying more than they are? It doesn't make sense. So once I learned that, I've just become a much better funeral celebrant, and I can kind of separate that it's not my grief. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It is hard, but it's given me a lot of practice speaking, to an audience that's not very responsive and is not happy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a tough audience and a tough situation. And so has Toastmasters and speaking at Toastmasters and getting the practice speaking there helped that process?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely. But I know a few of my Toastmasters clubs, they, I think they're sort of sick of me talking about death. It's not the happiest topic to speak about. But then some people do enjoy topics when I talk about, getting prepared and making sure
Mm,
you're prepared. And I like to talk a lot about music and how music's important in your life, and and to keep things organized for when that time comes. So I've given
mm.
a lot of organization speeches for
Yeah.
end of life.
Yeah.
So that's been pretty interesting. I mean, I don't just talk about death, but I like to talk about other topics. I like to share a lot of personal stories and stuff. So yeah, I just find those are the easiest to speak about, and they
Yes.
sound more authentic, when it's a
Mm.
personal story. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the whole topic of death is so taboo, and yet we're all going to experience it at some point. I mean, that's the reality. And I think to be able to speak about it from the perspective of being around grieving families so often, that you would have amazing insights in your speeches, and they would be touching and probably triggering for people, but important.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very true. It makes me just appreciate life so much
Mm,
doing the work that I do.
mm.
I'm just so grateful. And it also makes me realize that we're all going to die. I mean, I know we're all going to die,
Yeah,
but you know what I mean? That
we
we're all going to
are.
die, and there's no, there's no, I mean, you just don't know when, where, and
No.
you just don't know anything. And it just makes me really grateful for life in general. And I find funerals, ceremonies, I just find them very inspirational, and I just love honoring a person. It's so important to come together, to grieve together, and to
Mm,
really honor that person and to celebrate them.
mm,
And some people say, oh, well, my mom, she didn't want a funeral,
mm.
but
Yeah,
I'm sorry, your mom's not going to be there. The funeral is for the living.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's really important. It's so important because I have seen through the years, because I have been a funeral celebrant for 16 years. I
Mm,
have seen over the years how not having a funeral can affect a person for many years.
mm.
And whenever they go to a funeral, it'll trigger them because they never had that for their loved one, because
Mm.
they were honoring the wishes of their loved one. But you still need to have something
Yes.
for your loved one. Yeah.
Well, I think it's as well about telling the stories and getting those words out. And I find that a lot of people either come to Toastmasters because they were in a position where they needed to give an obituary and
Yeah.
couldn't, and actually just could not deliver the words and wish they could have. And that's what triggered their Toastmasters journey. Or, they know they've got a wedding speech coming up or something like that, a big life event. And I guess that's where, when you've got experience talking about grief and that environment, you're prepared for it. But the people who are speaking at the funeral often are not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It is difficult though, because my best friend died last year,
mm,
and I was asked to deliver the ceremony, and I couldn't
mm,
do it. I could
yeah.
not do it. So I understood at that moment, like if people are close to me, I can't do it. But
Mm,
if it's someone I don't know, but I will get to know through my questionnaire and being around the family for a few hours, then
mm,
I can deliver it for them.
yes.
And that's, if it's too close. So I totally understand delivering eulogies, delivering tributes.
Mm,
They're hard. They're really
yes.
hard. I mean, I've heard a lot over the years, and they're very hard to deliver if you
Mm,
are emotionally attached to that
yep.
person. And I have found the best tributes have been from children
Mm,
who don't have any filters and who just say it like it is.
yes.
And they haven't been very long. So you don't have
Mm,
to deliver a long tribute or eulogy for it to be effective.
mm,
And that's kind of what we learn at Toastmasters. I like the 5 to 7 minute,
yes.
timeline that we have. I give
Mm,
that to my clients. I said, don't make sure it's not over five, even over 5 minutes, like 5 to 7, is good.
yeah.
But if you can keep it shorter, it's just as effective.
Exactly. And I guess it gets them to focus on what's really important, because you can't explain an entire lifetime however long you've got. So yeah, keep it short, keep it memorable and impactful. What do you enjoy most about being a member of Toastmasters?
I enjoy the different stories that you hear during the meeting. And I also enjoy that there's such a different group of people in the room.
Mm.
Some members you quite frankly would not hang out with outside of Toastmasters, but they surprise you with their stories, and
Mm.
it just makes you more loving of humanity. And you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
we judge people, don't we, when we're on the
Yes.
outside? But in Toastmasters, we're all different. We're all different colors, we're different whatever. And
Mm.
we all have these stories, and I just love it. I just love it. It's about self-development, it's about communication, and I think that's why I love it so much. And I love listening to people's stories because they everything surprises me, you
Yes.
know. Yeah, I love it.
I think as well the fact that you're podcasting and getting to deep dive with people in a way that you would hear more than, say, their icebreaker speech. I have found such a rewarding part of podcasting. How are you finding that part about podcasting?
Oh yeah, I love delving into people's stories, and naturally I'm very inquisitive, and I like to ask a lot of questions, which also comes from being a celebrant as well.
Mm.
But on the podcast, it's just such a rich experience. Like I'm loving this between me and you, you know. I mean,
Yes.
it's fantastic, and anybody I interview, it's just such a great medium,
Mm.
podcasting. You're getting into people's ears, and,
Definitely.
yeah, and just I don't know, there's just something really quite beautiful about just one sense, if that makes sense. Like it's just an auditory thing that
Mm.
we're experiencing.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of, video podcasting out there on YouTube,
Mm.
which I totally don't get because podcasting is about hearing
Yes.
and the words. And I think if you just listen, there's just so much, I don't know, there's just richness in people's stories, and it's a different sort of experience listening.
Yes, I think it reminds me of the radio growing up, where I mean, I've obviously had TV, but I listened to a lot of radio and songs on the radio and talkback radio. And it reminds me of those days where, I think it's also like when you're reading a book, there's a lot left to the imagination,
Mm,
as is with voice, and you can only go on the tone of voice and what people are saying, and you're not sort of necessarily distracted by what the studio or what's happening in the
yeah.
background. And so yeah, I agree. I like this format. Sort of, I don't think I'm ever going to move into video format. I
Yeah.
don't-
Oh, no, it'd be too much work, way too much work.
Exactly, exactly.
Not just the equipment, but getting ready.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's yeah, definitely. Podcasting is perfect for me. I
Yeah.
like being behind the scenes, but creating the content.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. No, I
Now,
do. I love it. Mhm.
yeah. Now you've done a lot of pathways. I know you've completed a couple of pathways, and you're well and truly into the next three pathways. How has the pathways experience been for you? Because I heard on one of your episodes of the podcast that you have been around in the time when we had books, and I was around in
Mhm.
those times too.
Yeah.
But yeah, how
Yeah.
have you found pathways?
For some people, they absolutely don't like it at all. And
Mm.
some people, they love it. I really enjoyed the manuals because I am a tactile person.
Mm.
And so it took me a while to get into the pathways, but I'm a bit competitive as well. So my mentor Jenny Long, who's who's been a member for a really long time. So
Mm.
she was doing lots of pathways, and she was getting lots of awards. And with a triple crown, we were both wanted to get a diamond together.
Mm.
And what that is in to get a triple crown, you have to complete three educational levels in a year to get a
Yes.
triple crown. But
Yep.
to get a diamond, you have to complete three triple crowns consecutively to
Oh.
get a diamond. So
Oh.
I was in competition with my friend Jenny. Well, she got the three in a row, and I got two, and then I just had a year where I just could not get there. So I
Oh.
had to start over again.
Oh no.
That's why I have five triple crowns. So I just got the diamond this
Ah.
year. So, but she got the diamond about 4 years ago. So,
Oh.
I don't know if you probably did know that, but
No, I didn't know that
yeah,
actually. Well,
yeah,
congratulations on
yeah,
your Diamond
thanks.
Award. That's
Yeah.
a triple crown each year for 3 years in a row. Yes.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
Okay.
And if you miss one,
Yeah, you
like I
start
did,
again.
you have to start again. So I just thought, before I turn a certain age,
Yeah.
I need to get my diamond.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Oh.
that's why I worked really hard. And that's why I started a lot of paths. And you know how some paths you've got those huge electives that do take
Yes.
a bit of time. So then
Mm.
I would just start another path and do a few of the easier levels. That's
Ah.
why I've got all those different levels, just because I was
Oh,
trying
good
to,
tip.
yeah,
Good
yeah,
tip. Not
yeah.
only did I not know about the Diamond Award, but thank you for the tip in how to get there. In fact, I think I might be on a hat trick. I'm on my third year of I had a triple crown last year and the year before, so I didn't even
Oh,
know I was on track to be going for it, let alone that it existed.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
good to know.
Oh, so this year, if you get a triple crown, you'll get a diamond. Yeah.
No, and that
Wow.
would have otherwise been completely news to me. So
Yeah,
thank you for
yeah.
shedding light on that. That's excellent. Which has been your favorite path or project to date?
I do like the podcasting one, obviously, but that kind of is my jam.
Mm.
Because you being a celebrant, and I actually like speaking on the microphone, which sounds really silly, but I've always enjoyed this medium. And I used to be a flight attendant, and I made all the announcements.
Oh, wow.
And I
Okay.
think that's where my love of speaking on the microphone started, because I started flying in 1990, and I was a flight attendant for almost 8 years. So I made the
Wow.
announcements in German. Actually, I'm half German.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Anyways, but that's where I started speaking on the microphone, and I just really enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really weird. It really, really weird. Yeah. So I enjoyed speaking on the microphone, and then I was on community radio for 5 years. I just enjoyed speaking on the microphone. What I've found with the pathways is that you can incorporate the projects to fit in with your work life. Like, for
Mm.
instance, I did a few level 3 social media
Oh, yeah.
projects in different pathways because I was trying to get my triple crown. So I would do like a Facebook launch or of whatever, being a celebrant or on a podcast.
Mm.
So I would incorporate those things that I was doing anyways in my
Yeah.
professional life. I would incorporate that with Toastmasters. And I think I always like killing two birds with one stone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that I feel like I'm not wasting time. But that's what attracts me. If I see a project like, oh, I can incorporate that in my professional life, or I know I'll be doing this sort of, or last year for the motivational strategies level 5, there
Mm.
is a project where it is running an event
Oh,
or
yeah.
having a team or having whatever. So I ran the area contest,
Yep.
and yeah, so the area director didn't have to worry about doing the contest. I actually did that as my
Oh,
project.
perfect.
So that was, yeah. So I like to, like if you see a project and it looks like it's too hard, but you can incorporate it somehow. And I know years ago, one of the members also for running an event, she
Mm.
ran a 50th birthday for her, I think for her sister, but she also sort of made that into a Toastmasters thing. I can't
Mm.
remember what she did, but I remember she gave a speech about it, like how she, organized everything. And so I think it's really you're supposed to do Toastmasters events, not parties, but she did. So she did do that. But I know there's lots of Toastmasters birthdays that you can organize the event, and you can include that as one of your
Mm.
projects. And I know people have done that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you can incorporate the projects into something that either is going to help you personally or professionally, and I just think it gives a lot more motivation to do it, and you can apply it. And I think you probably learn more when you are doing it with a purpose in mind rather than just saying, oh, well, I'll just do that. But I also feel like that comes more in, say, the second pathway, where you've got an idea of how an entire pathway works, and how some of those big level 4 and 5 projects happen. And if they're coming down the line, and you can work backwards and say, all right, well, with the podcast project, for example, I started to do it even when I was up to just, I think, my level 2 project. But because I knew what was coming, I was able to write speeches about the podcast while I was planning it and getting it ready for launch. And I did quite a number of speeches about the podcast before I even got anywhere near the level 4 part, because I had worked through a pathway and because I knew what was coming, and I kind of knew what the end goal for this pathway was. So this pathway for me has been fairly much about the podcast and different things. But I think having a focal point for a pathway can make it really valuable as well.
Yeah, you sound so organized. That's so good, but that makes total sense. I just went straight into it. But however, I found that because I am in two different clubs, I'm in an advanced club and the community club Blue Mountains, is I delivered them both, but I did it differently at each club. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Because one of the clubs, when I delivered it the first time, I just went straight into it. And then one of the members, my feedback was, what is a podcast? You know what I mean? So I thought, oh my goodness, because I just went straight into, my podcast and, my content and all that. And it just really confused quite a few members there. And then I delivered it again at the other club. But then this time I actually had slides talking about what is a podcast, and then I showed the different, what's it called? Buzzsprout and, the
hosting platforms.
I showed how it works through the hosting platforms, and how you need to get your RSS, So I actually, that speech was just, how do you do a podcast? So I'm sure, is that what you did as well? Sounds like you kind of did that as well with your beginning speeches.
My beginning speeches for the podcast were more about what I was trying to achieve and almost like the vision for them. And then I did a progress report speech, I think after I was a few episodes in, so after it launched. And then I think I did another speech on maybe about how to go about planning a podcast. And then I did the actual podcast speech for the level 4, where you do the 2 to 3 minute speech and then play a segment of the podcast itself. So by the time I got to playing a bit of my podcast, I think my entire club was so sick of hearing about the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just going to talk about the podcast again. Great.
I know sometimes when people see them on the agenda, like, oh God, I hope she doesn't talk about death again. So I know what you mean.
Well, you get known for, I think, when you can talk about things that you're passionate about, right?
Yeah. But I am really passionate about the podcast. I think it's very, it's so informative as well. Like yours is so informative. And for me, I find the stories when I speak to other Toastmasters, just their stories for joining and their tips, their motivations and stuff like, I just love it. So I think we're fulfilling some, a market here that people will really enjoy. I don't know if people get confused because I do have a bit of an American accent, and me being in Australia, because you said that earlier, like we've got two podcasters here in Australia. So sometimes I think I might confuse people with my accent. I don't know. Have you even thought about that?
I did actually, because when I heard your podcast and you were talking about the Blue Mountains Club, I thought, oh wow, you actually live in Australia. And so I know when you reached out, that was one of the first things I did was checked out your podcast. And it was really cool to see that you were in the Blue Mountains Club, and I know that area really well. And I know that you meet at the Carrington Hotel, which is a beautiful old hotel. What a fantastic venue for a Toastmasters meeting. It's
fantastic. The only other venue that I have been to, because whenever I travel, I try to go to a Toastmasters meeting, was a club in London that met in Kensington at, I can't remember, but it was like an old hotel pubby sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
But it was right near Kensington Palace.
Oh, perfect.
So I don't know if that was the club you were in. I know, because I remember you said something about being in a London club. Yeah, so that's the only club that I've been to that's had a nice venue as ours. So our venue we're so grateful to have that venue.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And you mentioned visiting Toastmasters clubs when you go traveling. How many countries have you visited Toastmasters clubs in?
Well, in America, I've been to a Toastmasters club in Texas and in Florida,
Mm.
and overseas, I've been to a club in Edinburgh,
Oh, cool.
and in Glasgow, London, and I think that's it actually. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so fun that you can reach out to clubs anywhere in the world and say, "Hey, do you mind if I show up?" I did that recently in Malaysia, in May,
Oh, okay.
and I had made plans to go to the Malacca Toastmasters Club, and I was staying in
Mhm.
Malacca for about 5 nights, and I went to the club, and that was all fantastic. And then they said, "Oh, are you here for our conference?" I'm like, "What conference?" "Oh, our
Mhm.
District 102 conference is this weekend in 5 minutes from
Oh,
where you're staying." So I ended up going to my
wow.
second district conference in 2 weeks because ours had been in Caloundra the week before.
Wow. Oh my good. And how was that? That must have been exciting.
It was so cool, and they were so friendly. And like any district, well, I hadn't been to a district conference, as I said, until the one the week before. It was like a Toastmasters club on steroids, and everyone was very friendly. And it
Mm.
was the same format as the types of contests and conferences that we run. And there was a distinctly Malaysian slant in the speeches, just the Malaysian humor. It was all in English.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just had the best time. They all took me under their wings, and then word got out that there was an Australian in the house that had come all this way, and
Uh-huh.
it was really fun. And just the odds of actually being in the same city 5 minutes away from
Yeah.
where the conference was, you couldn't make it up.
Yeah.
So
That's so
yeah,
funny. Actually, you just reminded me because I was in New Zealand in
ah,
February
yeah.
and we were driving to the Bay of Islands. And as we're driving in, I said to my husband, I said, I should see if there's a Toastmasters in the Bay of Islands. And he goes, there won't be one here. And I looked it up. They ran it once a month. And the day that we were driving in, they were having a meeting. So I
Perfect.
actually have been to Toastmasters at Bay of Islands. So yeah,
Wow.
so I try to wherever I go, try to see if there is a
Mm,
Toastmasters meeting, and if it works out, if the universe allows, I'll
yeah.
just pop in. But I think there's so much to learn, and I love to pick up their agendas to see
Mm,
how different it is and what they add. But yeah, I like it. Now, I don't think I actually clarified because I am in two Toastmasters club. I'm the Blue
yes.
Mountains Club, which is in District 90, and
Yep.
I'm in Stage Time Toastmasters, which is in District 70.
Ah.
So it used to be all District 70, a lot of this New South Wales area, but then
Mm,
they split it. I think 9 years ago it was split because it was too big.
yep.
So now so I'm actually in two districts. So
Wow.
I went to the District 70 conference one weekend, and the next weekend I went to District 90, which a lot of club members that live in this area are
Yeah.
part of, one club in 70 and one club in 90. So it's a great experience to be able to do that.
Yeah. And do you go to the district conferences each year? Is that part of your calendar now?
I try to.
Mm.
I this year I yeah, and I went last year as well. This year
Yes.
I'm flying to LA
Woohoo.
on Thursday. So I'm very excited. I'm going to my very first international
Oh, how
Toastmasters
exciting.
convention, and because it turns 100, and I thought
Yes.
if I go, I might as well go to this one. And what's even more exciting is that 9 members from my stage time club will be there.
Oh, wow. Wow, it's
I
big.
know. It's huge. It's
I
huge. So
I
yeah.
I think a lot of clubs are sending big contingents. I reckon it will be a massive conference because so many people have tied into this 100-year anniversary thing. I think we have about 6 or 7 people going from my leading edge advanced Toastmasters club too. So I think there's going to be
Wow.
contingents of clubs there. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be
Oh,
pretty exciting.
it is going to be exciting. And I know that they have a flag ceremony too. So
Yeah.
I don't know how that works, who holds the Australian flag, but,
Mm.
but it should be, yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Oh, well, what an adventure, and what a year to do it in the 100th year anniversary. I mean, you'll never forget that one.
Yeah, and that's why I thought I would go. And I did
Mm,
listen to the official Toastmasters podcast yesterday, and
mm,
it did say that this will be the probably the highest attended convention in, I don't know if forever, but
forever. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I think
A
just
while.
in a while, in a
Yeah,
while. So
yeah.
it'll be yeah, it'll be exciting to go and see what's up. Yeah.
Oh, well, I can't wait to hear how it goes for you. And actually, one of our speakers in Leading Edge is in the final 28. So he has gone all the way through, Colin Williams, and he's representing Australasia. And this recording will happen in a couple of weeks, but we have just been to over the weekend, actually, there was an event put on for him to send him off to get him to practice his two speeches and send him off. And yeah, so I actually know someone that will be speaking on the international stage, and then he's got about, as I said, 6 or 7 of the Leading Edge gang who'll be there in the audience. So
Oh,
it's
how
massive.
exciting.
Yeah, yeah, we're so
Yeah.
excited for him, and yeah, so
Yeah, no, that's very exciting. Actually, in my stage time club, we
Mm.
do have we do have a member who won second place in the world
Ah,
in
wow.
2021. So it was when everybody was on Zoom.
Yep.
But yeah, so he won that competition. Yeah, he's an amazing speaker,
Mm.
and stage time is an advanced club,
Mm.
and I love that club because we have lots of district winners, so it's fantastic. I just learned so much. It really does push you if you if you go to an advanced club once you get to that level.
Definitely. And when I was practicing my evaluations to speak at district, I was evaluating speakers like Colin and
Yeah.
just really, really got to look closely to find points for improvement for speakers like that. But it's in the evaluation contest, you have to give points for improvement, and that counts towards the points. And you have to be
Yeah.
able to find something for every speaker. So yeah, I think the advanced clubs really do push you that extra bit.
Mhm. Yeah, no, they do push you, and you're around people who are just as motivated as you to do really, really well. So that pushes you further as well. Not that community clubs don't do that, because I think
Mm,
what motivates me in community clubs is people just improving. That
yes.
really gets me excited.
Mm,
And I've also learned that sometimes the newer members, they see things that through a different lens. And if
yes.
you've been a Toastmaster for such a long time,
Mm,
that they're almost more organic,
yes.
in the way they speak and in the way they evaluate too. So I think you learn from a member who's been a member for a long time or one who's just joined. So each club, advanced or community based, they have different advantages.
Yeah, I agree. And I think to have that dual experience in the multiple clubs and the different types of clubs. And then there's the online version as well. So I haven't actually been a member of an online club, but I'm thinking, oh, that might be an interesting type of club meeting to throw into the mix, because getting experience in that online space where a lot of us spend so much of our time,
Mhm.
I wonder about joining an online club every now and then, but maybe not in my year as area director. There's enough going on.
No, yeah, yeah, that's right. You do have a lot going on, and it might even be difficult to, get 3 educational levels out of the way to get your triple crown again and
Mm.
to get the diamond. But anyways, you'll have to work that one out,
Well, now that I know that exists, I'll plan it. I'll get planning on that one. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, but I mean, what would you say to people who are interested in Toastmasters but are nervous about going or terrified, depending on their experience? What would you say to them?
I would just say to try out a few different clubs
Mm,
because we're all different. And if you don't feel that vibe, then go to the next one. And sometimes the timing just isn't right in your life. Like
Mm,
we've had people come and they're just terrified or they just can't do it. They've got just too much going on in their professional and personal life. And they'll come back maybe 2 years later when they're
mm,
ready. So I think just try it out. It's such good value for money,
mm.
really, when you think
Yes,
about it. Just
definitely.
the education that it offers and the practice that you get in it and just the community of people that you get to meet as well.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. I agree. I mean, we obviously both love Toastmasters a whole lot.
Yeah.
And so what are your goals for this year as a Toastmaster? You've talked about, competing over the years and you've talked about your Triple Crowns and the Diamond Award. What's your goals for this year?
I actually don't. Oh my God. So it's funny. I was super motivated, for 3 years in a row because I really
Mm.
wanted, I just got to get it. I got to get it. But I am going away, like I said, this
Oh,
week, and
yes.
I'll be gone for 6 weeks.
Oh.
So I just want to keep speaking because if you don't use it, you lose it.
Mm.
And that, because I haven't really you know, since I got my diamond the 24th of June, I've like delivered nothing, in five
Mm.
weeks,
Yes.
except of course ceremonies, but that's different, because I have a
Yes.
script and stuff. But so I think I just need to make sure that I schedule in at least a speech a month,
Mm.
and always hold my hand up to do evaluations. Just you just have to keep speaking because it's
Mm.
like a muscle memory, isn't it? If you don't use it, you lose it. So
Yes.
my goal is just to probably do a speech a month, not complete a level, or I mean maybe complete one level, but not do three levels. I haven't really thought about it this year.
Mm.
So what's yours?
Oh, what's mine?
Okay.
I don't think I'll get the DTM this year because I need to do a
Yeah,
full year of
yeah,
area director, but I'm working towards it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think I would love to see the area, so my area 26, finish the year as a distinguished or select distinguished area, which would mean that all the clubs are humming and are really serving the needs of their members. That would be amazing as a group effort.
Yeah.
For me personally, now that you've mentioned this Diamond Award and that I'm two Triple
Yeah. Yeah.
Crowns into it, I think
Yeah.
that probably might become
Yeah.
another goal.
Yeah. No, yeah. So I quite like that. I've got my little diamond little pin that I have. I mean,
Oh.
it's not a diamond, but it'd be great if it was. But yeah, I have been a member for 16 years. I've given
Mm,
a lot of speeches over the years, but I've never really thought about my DTM because I do have to
mm,
do like what you're doing, an area director. So
mm,
that might be something that I'll do
mm.
in the future, but I won't be doing it anytime soon because I'm doing this trip now, and then me and my husband, he's retiring and I'm semi-retiring next year,
Mm.
so we're going to go away for 5 months
Oh, nice.
next year. So I haven't really thought about now that I have the diamond, that's it for now.
Yeah.
I'll wait till I come back from that 5 month holiday
Uh,
next year, and then
Yeah.
I think I will get the DTM because, you know,
You're
as
so
you
close
know,
to it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, as you know, whenever you get an educational award, you get like, it's those initials PI4 or
Mm.
EH5, and if you have a DTM, it always stays DTM. It just
Yes.
makes it easier. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So I think I might look at that after next year.
When you look at all the elements, it's I mean, I know some people can really rush through that, but it sounds like you're a long way along the path to getting there. And yeah, I think I have to do a speechcraft, so run a speechcraft course. I think that probably next year after the bulk of the area director stuff is
Mhm.
out of the way, like the area conference and the things I have to organize there. I think I'm quite keen to look at a speechcraft course as well because I haven't done that, but I do event management and have
Yeah,
been
yeah,
involved in event management for work. So I think a speechcraft course would be fun and
yeah.
just another step along the way.
Does that include, is that something that goes towards a DTM if you run the
Yes.
speechcraft? Okay. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's good. So you'll do this area director role and then run a speech craft, and then you're able to get the DTM. Is that correct?
I think, as well as the speechcraft, I think you have to be a coach or a mentor to a club. So that's another
Okay.
part of it. So,
Okay.
yeah, I reckon by the end of maybe next year, I could foreseeably complete it
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
thought about it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's something I'll want to probably do maybe
mm,
before I hit 20 years, with
yes.
Toastmasters.
Mm.
So, yeah, God, I can't believe I've been with Toastmasters 16 years. It's gone so quick.
Yeah. Well, and what motivates you to keep coming back after, as you say, you've been there for 16 years? What motivates you to keep coming back?
I guess it's really the people, the members. I really enjoy listening to the speeches, and yeah, it's like it's become a family as well.
Mm,
And I don't necessarily hang out with a lot of the members. I mean, I do with one or two of the members, but
mm,
a lot of the members I don't. But I'm still interested in their lives because of the interesting speeches that they've shared with me.
mm,
So I know details about their lives that they've shared, and I
mm,
quite like that. I just love that family. I like that family sort of feeling. Yeah.
mm. It's an interesting way of getting to know people. And what I find fascinating is how revealing icebreaker speeches can be. Like, people can be so vulnerable in their first speech, and you think, wow, you were nervous about coming in to this whole meeting, and then you've just shared that. I just find it fascinating what people will share.
Yeah, I totally, and we connect with stories like that too. And
Mm,
that is, yeah, I love stories where you're totally connecting, the members there, and you get connected to the members through their stories. And that's probably
mm.
what keeps me going.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. Mhm.
Yeah, and I think seeing people improve as well, or yeah, just being with people, I guess, along their journey and seeing what's going on in their life, and that's reflected in their speeches, and you learn a lot. It's just, and there's not that, again, that many other clubs or organizations where people are encouraged to be vulnerable and to share their stories.
Well,
So,
what's interesting I've found is that some people don't like to be vulnerable, but I
mm,
find that when people are vulnerable, that's when they connect.
mm,
And that is when a true, um, that's what connects. Because I'm in an advanced club where we really focus on that connection.
yes.
And it's, I mean, I think that getting to that level of the connection and being vulnerable is what will make a great, like even a world champion speaker, and I think
Mm.
that's what a lot of the members in my stage time club are aspiring to. I'm just aspiring to get to, to get past division. So I'd love to
Yeah.
get to the district level, but
Mm.
each level is different. Clubs different than area, and then I've
Yes.
been to division a few times, but I've never gotten to district, and I'd love to just get to district to see how
Mm.
that feels. But I know a lot of people who've gone to district who've competed in the world competition, and
Mm.
even the one member who got second in 2021, and I know how they speak. They're amazing. They've
Mm.
got this vulnerability that they share in such a great way. So
Mm.
yeah, I love that.
It's powerful. And
Yeah.
so, is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Yeah. Communication is so important. And what Toastmasters teaches you is not just speaking, but it also teaches you how to listen through the evaluations that we do. And I think when you go to Toastmasters, you listen to people in a different way. And that is the value of Toastmasters. So that's probably the last thing I'd like to just share is I've through being a member for 16 years, I totally look at communication in a totally different way.
Mm.
Mm,
Yeah, it's deeper. It's just that deeper level of, as you say, listening and
mm.
observing. Even it's polite scrutiny. We politely scrutinize everyone, I think, that's speaking.
Yes, 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 yes. Or yeah, evaluate them in a way. And so, so sometimes I'll actually give people a bit of feedback, and they're not even in Toastmasters.
Mm.
Especially, I mean, at some of my ceremonies, the happy ones, not just the
Yes.
funerals. I'm like, oh, maybe you should have delivered it this way. No, but but anyways,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Evelyn, it's been such a pleasure speaking with you,
Yeah.
and thank you so
Yeah.
much for reaching out to me through social
Yeah.
media, the powers of social media and
Yeah.
connecting. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more episodes of your podcast, the Toastmasters Experience. So I will link to that in the show notes so people can go and check out your podcast and some more fantastic Australian Toastmasters content. So thank you very much and have a great trip. Enjoy your convention.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you so much, Mel. I'm just so grateful to be on this show.
Thanks for listening to today's show. Head to talkativetoastmaster.com where you'll find the show notes for this and all other episodes, as well as links to some awesome Toastmasters resources. If you found value in today's content, I'd really appreciate if you could share it with friends and colleagues who may be interested. Or leave a review on iTunes. This helps more people to find us. Until next time, remember the words of Seth Godin. If it scares you, it may be a good thing to try. Have a great week.